Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Catherine Zach. This is the 40 Portal, babe. It never gets old. Oh my gosh. I got that intro, by the way, from my friend Allison, who is episode 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, Allison Matheny. She wrote me a note on my 40th birthday that said, "Welcome to the portal, babe." So I can't not say it. Okay, welcome back to the podcast. It's so good to sit here with you, to be with you. And I have to say, today's episode is maybe one of my most personal ones yet. One of my favorite things about the podcast is that I get to just sit alongside other women and hear their stories and help share their stories. And if you listen to Lourdes' episode, maybe 2 episodes back, that was the one where I literally sat in her chair and she cut my hair and dyed my hair while we did our recording, which was so much fun. In that episode, she said, I think every woman's life assignment should be to write a book, to write their own book. And there's something in that is so essential to the 40 Portal Project. We're here sharing our stories, not because any one of ours is any more important than anyone else's. And I think we also live in a time and a place where we really want to look at experts or people who have certain numbers or credentials behind or before their names. And I think what Lourdes was saying and what I feel in sharing the stories of the women on the 40 Portal podcast is that our stories have merit and we can share them simply by virtue of just being who we are. We don't have to be proving our worth or our validity in order to share our voices. And I just love providing a forum for women to do that. And on that note, I have found my first 20 or so podcast guests through my own life. These are women that I'm actually having these conversations with in real life. And as I plan the recording of the last 20 episodes of the series, because I committed to 40 episodes of the 40 Portal, I want to open up an invitation to you. That's right. You. Yes, you. Yes, you. Okay, I want one of you listeners to become a guest, my guest, on an upcoming episode of the 40 Portal podcast. And here's how we're going to do it. 2 steps. Number 1, you have to contribute your voice. You must. That's the first step. To the actual 40 Portal book. This is what drives the podcast itself. This is what created the entire series that you're listening to now, this notebook. And I originally collected submissions on the night before my own 40th birthday with the women who came to sit with me in real life. And since then, you've been mailing me your submissions. You've been filling out the Google Doc form with your submissions. And it's a 2-fold prompt in the 40 Portal book. If you're under 40, the question is something like, what do you want to know? What is the open question that you are currently living? What do you want to send out into the universe in hopes that the 40 Portal women will echo something back to you? And if you are over 40, if you're a woman over 40, what is it that you know, that you trust, that you have learned and earned and burned and churned? It can be short and simple. It could be sexy or serious. It could be silly and irreverent. I'm here for all of it. So that's step number 1. You must submit something to the actual 40 Portal book, and you can do that by mailing it to me or just type it out in the Google Docs form. When you mail me things, I literally staple or hot glue gun them into the book. And if you fill out the Google Docs form, I just handwrite them in. And that's it's an important part of the process to literally create an artifact of this moment in time, 2026, and gathering all kinds of women's voices to talk about what it feels like to be in this moment of midlife transformation. Because I think one of the things that I'm learning is that, of course, there's no monolith experience. We're all having our different experiences and stories and coming at it from much different backgrounds and places. And yet in our own unique stories, there's something that we can share and learn from each other. And there's power in that. So step number 1 is submit your voice. put your voice in the portal. And then step number 2 is leave a written review wherever you listen to the podcast, on Apple Podcasts, on Substack, on Spotify, on YouTube. Leave a written review and tell us with specificity, like, whose story has resonated with you so far? Which of these wonderful, wise, wild women have you learned something from? Like, paint us a picture. Tell us what connected for you, because those reviews help grow the podcast. They help other women who need to be part of this conversation with us to find the podcast. It's so important. And so if you can do that, you'll be entered in the running to be a guest on the 40 Portal podcast. And it will also help other women then hear your story when your episode comes out. So do that before June 7th, 2026. Leave the review and take a little screenshot of it. Email it to me at 40portalpodcast@gmail.com. 40portalpodcast@gmail.com by end of the day, June 7th, 2026. And I'll look for your submission in the Google Docs form, or you can let me know that the letter's on the way, and I will choose a guest. Like on June 8th or 9th or 10th, I'll send you a message and say, okay, come on, let's schedule the episode. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to be in conversation with you. If you're terrified and think that no one wants to hear your story, you probably have to do this. I promise you. I promise you. It's like Lourdes said a couple episodes back, like, it should be every woman's requirement to write a book, to share their story, because we're all worthy. We're all valid. We all have something meaningful to say. And I can't wait to hear from you. Like, I really want to sit with you. I really do. So do that. Submit your voice to the portal, leave a written review, email it to me, and let's fucking go. Let's have a conversation. Today's conversation is so meaningful to me. So meaningful to me. My guest today is the person that I've interviewed. Out of all the women I've interviewed, she's the one I've known the longest. I might have future guests. Like, I have some childhood friends who've known me for the entirety of my life, all almost 41 years. But Tori and I have known each other for about 16 years. And it's so powerful, because I think this is another thesis of the whole 40 Portal project, is to just bear witness to each other, to just show up and see each other. And when you have someone who has seen you through many moments of your life, like, there's such power, there's such healing, there's such resonance, there's such creativity, there's such love, there's such vitality in that, in the way we can witness each other. And so this conversation is really special to me. I know you're going to get something out of it too, because Tori is one of the wisest, calmest, most grounded, most introspective, most intuitive people that I know. And I just, let's dive in. I'll stop. You listen. Submit your contribution. Put your review. Email me. Let's go. This could be you. This could be us. One more thing before we go, before we dive in. Content warning. Tori and I, about an hour into the episode, talk about pregnancy loss. So take care of yourself as you listen to the episode. So I couldn't be more excited for a conversation, by the way. It's so good to be here with you. And on the podcast, I have only so far interviewed women, sat with women who I know personally so far. And out of all of my guests, I have known you the longest. And I can't quite remember the first time we spoke, or even when I learned your name, but I am fairly certain that there was a period of time where I saw you and we interacted, but we were kind of on a very surface level. And what I mean by that is I would walk up the stairs from P Street in Logan Circle in Northwest DC in 2010 and come up the stairs over the liquor store onto the to the second floor of Flow Yoga Center. And you would be behind the desk with your smile and your eyes that smile and your very grounded, welcoming kindness, which is kind of remarkable, because there's like a maternalness to you, an earthiness to you that's kind of ageless, because at that point we were like 25 years old.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting that you bring up that memory because I also have a very similar memory. And you used to carry this ginormous Louis Vuitton bag.
I still have it. It's like hanging over there as like a
And
talisman.
but you would come to the studio like every single day. So that I was like, there's something to this girl that is so curious to me because she's like got this ginormous Louis Vuitton bag. But like you were always smiling and you were always kind, but it was like you clearly were in a transition moment. So there was like the Cath that arrived to the studio, and then there was the Catherine that left the studio. And I used to always love to see that transition of like coming in like in your lawyer clothes with your bag, not frazzled, but rushed and like getting into the studio. But then after you'd be like, and now all is well.
And that's what's so annoying about yoga is that it works, right?
It works. It works. And it brought us together
I
because,
know.
yeah, I mean, was that 2010? It was 2010.
2010 is when I arrived, August
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
When did you get there?
I got to DC 2009 but I don't think I did TT until, would
You were
that have been February 2010?
2010 because I was 2011.
Yeah. Okay. So then I started working there the summer after TT.
So
So
that
I would have like started like, yeah, right when you arrived. So like the synchronicities and the overlap of our path has just been beautiful because then you took over the job when I
Mhm.
left.
Which would have been the beginning of 2014. So like,
Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I'm like that kind of
It's
use.
15 years.
Yeah. That's wild. It's so
That's
wild.
crazy.
And you know what
Uh-huh.
else I was thinking about too is, well, wait, do you remember the first time we actually like talked or no? I don't know. Maybe that's
I
something
think
for
it
it.
must have been in an overlap of teacher training because at the time I would have been like printing things like at FedEx Kinko's, making sure that like, that was before everything was digital. Like we still had binders and like paper and like old school stuff. So I would have, I think, been the admin on your TT. And that would have been the first time we had started to interact. But then it was when um, you and Sam both started doing karma yoga, right? Didn't you start helping at the studio? Yeah, so that would have been the first time that we really started interacting. And then we started hanging out, and then we did 300 hour together. And that's what really solidified the friendship.
That was such a
Mhm.
wild time. That was such a wild time to be like young and alive.
Yes. Well, and then I moved across the country in the middle of it, which I'm so glad I did for my story, but also for your story, because it was that pivot point in my narrative where I chose to leave DC to follow the love of my life, my now husband, and that's when you and Sam fell into step,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
And
you have the love of your life and now husband.
the end.
That's our podcast. I hope
That's
you've been
it.
inspired and informed.
So good. Well, you know what's funny is like, yeah, I mean, I literally took your job when I tell the story about leaving Big Law, like, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving. I don't quite know what I'm leaving for, but you were planning your move to, was it Seattle or Portland
Seattle at the
first?
time, yeah. And
Seattle.
then we really quickly went to Portland after
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was for Seattle.
And so I was like, dear mom and dad, I am leaving Kirkland and Ellis, but I am going to I'm going to be the senior manager of Flow Yoga Center. I will take an 80% pay cut, but I will have health insurance.
Oh gosh, and that's where it really did like click in when we were training for that job and you like had your lawyer mind and you're so brilliant. Like you're so intelligent. And I had finished grad school. So we like both were like hitting at this like higher intelligence level, but like totally okay, like cleaning floors and scrubbing mats and like showing up to make tea and fill bowls of cookies and like make sure people felt safe and happy. And I thought it was just such an interesting space to be like, okay, like careers are one thing, but like community felt so important at the time.
And it's wild too because I am back to like folding blankets and sweeping floors. And I have to say, it's still and was then and still is today like some of the most grounded and honest and like simple pieces of the work. And I think as we get more and more digital, it almost feels more nourishing now to do those things. It's wild.
I think that, I mean, it's that notion of seva, right? Of like action and like doing things with your hands. I have a client who brought this up recently, and they were talking about how for a while in their daily flow, it was like sweeping the floors, doing the dishes felt really overwhelming. And then they intentionally decided to shift it as like, no, I'm the caretaker of my home and I'm taking care. And I think that like that shift mentally from being in a space of like, oh, I have to do this, or this is a chore, or this is something on my to-do list, and shift it into like the nurturing space of I'm taking care and I'm the caretaker. And if I take care of my space, I am like an extension taking care of myself. And I think that that's like what folding blankets and cleaning yoga mats and like lighting the incense is all about in a yoga studio, and also then bringing that mentality into daily flow.
Although I will say, like, my home life is much wilder because I am the mother of dragons and I live with three.
Yes.
I have three male roommates, is how I put it now. Okay, we've been chatting for a little while. I've known you for 16 years, but we need to introduce you to our listeners. And
Yes,
so
hello.
my first question is, what is your name and your pronoun? Your pronouns, sorry, excuse me. And like also go deeper. Is there a story about your name? How does your name feel to you? Tell us a little bit more.
Ooh, such a good one. Well, my official name is Victoria Reeves Grising Newburn. So I have four official names on driver's licenses and passports. Victoria is a name that came through a few connections through my dad side of the family. And Reeves is from my mom's side of the family, from our Mississippi Southern heritage. Grising is obviously the name I grew up with, and that connects us to our German heritage. And then Newburn is my married name, which my husband, his family hails from like Sweden area. So those are kind of like the anchor points of why those names landed to me. I go by Tori. I think that there's a really fun story to share about that. That when I was in kindergarten, I walked into my classroom and I was like, there's no desk for me here. And this very sweet, lovely kindergarten teacher was like, no, it's right there. It says Victoria. And in all of my pride as a 5-year-old, I was like, my name is Tori. And I like took a pen and scribbled out the VIC and the A so that my desk would only say Tori. So for my pretty much entire life, I've gone by Tori. But now, more officially in the business world, I have pulled Victoria back and into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Your book cover says Victoria, right? Does it?
Victoria R.G. Newburn, yeah.
Wow.
That's me.
Okay, take me back to that like 5-year-old you moment, like that kind of sense of like, no, obviously, maybe it's not like you're having a conscious thought as a kindergartner, like, this is my name, but you had some sense of depth of your identity or sense of self, or how does that track like from there to
It's
here?
an interesting question because in the course of writing my book, The Weaver and the Welder, I did a lot of introspective work and just thinking about who I am and who I have been and all of these iterations of self and versions of self. And I now have a 6-year-old son who is in kindergarten, and the mirror of that back to me of like this kind of defiant, confident, and also very sensitive, empathetic little being. I feel like that moment in kindergarten with me being like, this is me was like stepping into my voice. But I'm sure the second that I said it, I was like, oh, now I need more safety. Like, not really 100% comfortable claiming that authority. Obviously, I was 5, but um, it's a story that's tracked throughout my whole life of like stepping into that inner authority and claiming it, and then needing to immediately identify safety in it. And so there's just this like step forward, step back. Okay, I'm telling this story. I'm claiming my voice, but my nervous system also like desperately needs to feel safe. And so that vulnerability is really interesting. And I think I experienced it as a 5-year-old in kindergarten, claiming my name.
I want to hear if you can, like, can you give me like a more recent example of that? Because that's really, I don't know. I feel like we often hear about like the claiming of the voice thing, but not the second part. And maybe that doesn't track for everyone, but it perked my ears up. Is there like another more recent example of that you can point to?
I mean, I think that in just even the transition of my business during the pandemic from being in the brick and mortar, working at the yoga studio, doing continuing education, speaking to rooms of 50 people plus. And that felt really comfortable because I'm like, I know this. I've been doing this. Like this sense of safety is beautiful. And then everything shut down and everything transformed. And there we were transitioning everything to an online space, to Zoom, to then me sitting like by myself and being like, who's even listening to me? Right. But in that step forward into claiming this new version of business, this new version of offering, I was able to see that not only can the offering exist digitally, but there's like very positive aspects to speaking to people, but it felt so vulnerable. And I had to like claim my business and figure this out. And it didn't feel safe. So navigating into that and being like, okay, what is my capacity here? Like, how many hours can I actually stare at a screen? How do I navigate into that? Because it felt like I had this whole brick and mortar access point when we were in Portland, and then that was completely gone. And the vulnerability of that was just extreme of, will I teach again? Will people listen to me again? But claiming the space and claiming the online studio and claiming that digital space really pushed me into finding my voice in a new way, and then letting myself know, like, this is okay. Like, this is a new version, new iteration. We're all figuring it out together. So I would say that whole pandemic transformation was an example of that, and learning to tend to my nervous system in a new way, in a new world, in a whole new existence that people were navigating. And then, of course, fast forward to last year when I published my book, just putting that out into the world and being like, this is me, this is what I've created, this is what I'm offering, and who knows how it's going to land. So then after the launch day, it was like full on 6 weeks of like just tending to myself, creating safe spaces, super highlighted practices of moving through what makes me feel safe. And I think that, to your point, is like not everyone's going to feel safe in the same way. So stepping into your voice for some people might not be as jarring, if you will. But for me, it's like claiming that inner authority, claiming that voice does push me past my comfort level. So then allowing myself to claim the safety is also really important for my nervous system.
There's so many things I want to respond to. The first thing is like the last thing, which is, isn't it wild? Because I see you as a person who very naturally stands in their own 2 feet, who very naturally has a connection with your body, your voice, your presence. And so it to me, it's easy to tell a story of like, oh, this must come really easily to her. And there are so many stories we tell about each other and ourselves. And so that's like surprising, but also very good information, to remind all of us, like we are not just what people see when they see us.
That's so wise. And to just piggyback off of that, It's also to what you said earlier, like yoga works. Like the annoying part of the yoga practice is that it actually works. That's how I feel about mindfulness-based practices and meditation and like all of these daily rhythms that I've learned to incorporate in order to navigate into a sense of safety that I do present in that way, probably for most people, but I work hard to create it. And there is like a nervous system version of me that probably existed more in like middle school and high school. And like, I don't want to be in front of people. But then I started to learn in grad school through yoga, through meditation of the tools and techniques to create a sense of safety in my body. And working at that is important. So the daily techniques, the meditation, the noticing how I feel and like laying down on a mat for 20 minutes and stepping barefoot outside and all of these things that I've accumulated over the years are the tools that work to bring it into the sense of safety. But to your point, it's like I also then have to push myself into spaces where I do feel vulnerable so that I can step into a new level.
Yes. I mean, I think it is very yeah. I think it is very easy for me, I'll say, to stay in places where I feel really comfortable, and I have to keep pushing myself out past those places in order to grow. I'm gonna lead us into our next question, but I'm dating us a little bit because you and I came into adulthood like before the digital era. Obviously, there were like cell phones and computers, but not like smartphones and little computers you carried in your pocket. And so we had like literal experiences of being adults in the world, voting, paying tax, like all these things, like, and not before the life was on the internet. And we also had the opportunity, which I think is actually, it's definitely getting rarer and it's almost like an endangered species, this opportunity. But I think even people who are our contemporaries didn't quite get the experience that we had to launch our work into the world in person.
It's interesting to think of it that way. Okay, keep going. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I before like sure I opened an Instagram page and my first website probably in 2013, but I was doing 95% of my work in person until March 11th, 2020 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so curious. So to bring us back to like the desk at Flow Yoga Center at DC, I remember, and I'm not going to name drop, but there was a guest teacher who was in town and their son was like on Instagram. And I'm like, what's Instagram? Like I remember that moment and he was like, I need to take pictures to post on Instagram. And I didn't even know like what that was or what that meant or like any of the things that turned into, right? And so this nostalgia of brick and mortar, I think, is so potent. And obviously, for you, it's been a driving force of opening the studio where you are. But it's also coming back full circle for me of this deep desire to be in sacred circle with people in person. And so it's kind of driving this next version of my work of like gathering people together, being in person again. We live on property, so it's not brick and mortar per se. It's like on the property and with a fire and gathering seasonally. But there is something very powerful in people being together and sharing space and breathing together and meditating together. And so that notion of that's the anchor point of how we started doing this work, I think does inform the depth of how we move through. And I'm kind of just processing this in real time, but also kind of the expectation of the impact. Because for so many years, we were able to see in real time, like the subtle shifts of someone's body or the subtle shifts of someone's energy. And so doing the work in person is so powerful. But I would throw this back to you. Weren't you interested of how seamlessly it also went online?
I think it was seamless in a way, but like I've never like cracked the code on like internet success. Like I think that like right? Like I think I still have the same amount of Instagram followers as I did when I started my page in 2013. Like the algorithm and I are just not ever gonna do a dance, I think. And so for me, I think it's seamless in a way because I can show up and I love that there's ways that you and I can be in different states and connect right now. But I have had to work really carefully to not tie my feelings of success or value in the meaning of my work and like how it performs on the internet. Because if I were doing that, I would feel really shitty about what I'm up to.
It's funny that you say that because just this morning I was having this internal monologue of, and maybe this does date us. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm 40 now and I don't care as much, which I know is a theme.
Yeah. Welcome.
Uh, but I guess I just have witnessed the transition to the online platforms. I was able to take a part of what I was offering in brick and mortar, bring it online. From that, my business has grown exponentially in ways that I had no eyes on until I was able to connect across the country and on opposite sides of the planet. And I have clients all over. That is different. And that I think is the growth pattern that I would not have anticipated for my reach and impact. But I was thinking this morning, I was like, well, if I try harder, maybe Instagram algorithm will like me more. And then the immediate thought after that was, do I care? Like, do I care? And I think that it's quality over quantity. And maybe people wouldn't agree with me. I'm not a business coach. And so I don't know. But it's like I have really beautiful relationships with the people that I can impact. And I used these words earlier with you, but like inform and inspire are becoming kind of these like core aspects of how I move through my work. And if I am sharing information and it's inspiring someone, then I feel like beautiful, wonderful. So if that's one person or 100,000 people, great. I don't know if you remember this, but in 300 Hour with Shiva, she talked about this. She was like, whether one person shows up to your class or 100 people show up, you teach the class the same way.
Yeah.
And I think about that all of the time.
I feel that so much when we first opened. I mean, I live in a tiny town. Like there are 1,000 people in our village, and we opened a yoga studio there 3 years ago. And like, luckily, like the first class probably had 15 people in it. And like even now, a big class is like 20 is huge, right? But there were a couple classes where you'd have like 3 people, and Sam and I were just like, oh my God, like we are only as big as the people who are right in front of us, which is like another way of thinking about like you've got to just show up and give it your all, no matter who or how many people are in the room. That is like a deep through line that probably like Shiva like transmitted to us and all of our teachers. We had such great teachers, and we got the experience of being with them in real life in person. And there's no more powerful transmission than that. Like there's just none. But yeah, I don't care about it either. I mean, it'd be nice if it happens, but I feel like I have to just, and I know you're this way too. It's like, that's not how you want to spend your days. Like, okay. So the question is like, how old are you? And you told us you're 40.
Okay.
And
I'm
then
40,
how,
almost 41 in 2 weeks.
I mean, by the time this episode comes out, you'll be 41. So how old do
Sure.
you feel?
Oh gosh. That is such an interesting question. I feel very comfortable in 40. Like 40 didn't freak me out. I think I've always, as you said, like had a kind of a grace about me that I like, yes, I have my nervous system things that I I tend to, but I've always wanted to be older. Like I have an older sister and I've always wanted to be older. And I've always thought about like, oh, when I'm older, like this will make sense to me or like this will. So I've always had a curiosity about it. And I think it's been kind of that driving force of how I hold myself professionally or in the world, wanting to be older. But 40 feels like, okay, like now I'm at that point. So I guess I do feel 40 in a beautiful way. I'm embracing all of the aging that comes with that. I am also really loving the wisdom that comes with it as well. And I think what's interesting is that I'm more like, well, now what? Because I've always been anticipating, like, well, when I'm older, when I feel like I've reached whatever old means, now what? I have a whole nother like half of my life ahead of me. So what does that look like? And is there curiosity there? I don't really want to just downshift and like cruise for the next 50 plus years, hopefully more than that. And so it's like now it's a blank slate again, which I think is really interesting. And I've been thinking about that a lot. So most of my first year into 40s was consumed with the book and the launch and all of that and growth and great growth of my business and all those things, and also mothering. And we do alternative education. So I have the kids home with me a couple days a week to homeschool. So it was a very full year. And now we're at the year anniversary of the book launch, and I'm at 41. And so now it's like, this feels like the clean slate year of I don't really have a lot planned on purpose. I have some back burner projects going, but it feels like let's just see what the integration can bring forth. And I sent this to you in a text message a few days ago, but like no urgency.
No
Era.
urgency. Yeah.
Like just existing in the space because I do feel as like 40 has been an arrival and just landing in the place where I have arrived.
That's amazing. I love that. No urgency. Yes, please. What you're saying reminds me of, because like I feel like my 40 portal opened the month before I turned 39. I was at Kate's birthday party, her 39th, and Justin had just turned 40. And I was like, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel like a newborn. I feel like I'm brand new. Like at 39, I was 9, and now I'm 0 again. And like, that's what I hear you kind of saying too at 41. You're like, okay, now we're here and now we can begin.
Yes. But this no urgency, it feels like up until this point, and maybe this is just how like society has us structured, right? It's like you start school at 5. So like take it back to that kindergarten story of like, I started stepping into my authority at 5 years old when I was like, my name is Tori. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I really do that. But then 5 to like what, 39, I was on some sort of like course and track of schooling, university. I went pretty directly into my MFA program. I took 1 year off, but I got my master's in fine arts. So that dropped me then directly into career. And then we've talked through what that arc looked like. And then throw in some like a marriage and some babies, and here we are. So that's where I think it's like this feels new. It's I don't anticipate doing another degree program. I don't anticipate having another child. Like we're in this space of like we're probably in our forever home with our kids, with our businesses. And so it's like, is this just like cruise control for a little bit? Or how do we keep diving in deeper and excavating those layers of what is possible without the like structure of this is how you move through the first 40 years of your life?
It's the urgency piece, and what you're describing is bringing this up for me. It's something I've been thinking a while about for a little while, which is like in school, I feel like there is a very calibrated sequence. Like you're in kindergarten, then you're in first grade, then you're in second. And it's like, okay, there are steps built into the process of growing. And then I guess I was 24, almost 25 when I graduated from law school. And then it feels like the last 15 years of my life, almost 16 years of my life, then like you lose that to me, like once that structure of like we're in this chapter, this grade, this degree of school, then I just felt like I went on, like I just got shot out of a cannon and have been feeling that way for the last 16 years of like the growth and the trajectory is all so intense and fast and full. And as I arrive into my 40s, which I do feel like this whole first year, because I'll turn 41 in July, has been like a portal unto itself. I'm very interested, like you're calling it no urgency. I'm very interested in like more iterative growth again. Like I want to be able to take things like one step at a time that I feel like I was not able to access in my from my mid 20s till now.
Mm-hmm. I've been using this word with clients a lot, and I think it's really helpful. And maybe it's just because it's really coming up in my own practices, but it's reclamation of like, what parts of myself am I reclaiming? What rhythms am I reclaiming? What practices am I even reclaiming? And this goes into like the nuance of, um, this is for the yogis of your listening audience, but like, I love alternate nostril breathing. Do I do it all the time? No, because I learned it, 15 years ago. And then every time I go into that practice, it feels like I'm landing in a part of self that feels so integrated and real that why not reclaim that practice and bring it in a more consistent way? It's also like reclamation of belief and reclamation of truth and to keep weaving this in, but like reclamation of inner authority and voice and how I'm showing up and what I'm saying. And so I think that you use the words like iterative of like how do we go deeper? How do we kind of like explore more? And in that for me, it's like also what parts have I forgotten that I want to reclaim? Because I have a permission slip now because I'm in my 40s. Or going back to the like, I just don't care as much. Like, I want to go into like that 5-year-old Tori or that like 12-year-old Tori or the one who maybe got a little lost and be like, okay, let's like come along. And I'm claiming you back to bring this wholeness into my own system. And it feels like there's space now to do it because the careers are kind of beautifully growing. The children are beautifully growing. And so now it's reclamation of self.
I don't know if I'm reclaiming this or like just discovering this for the first time, but a thought, like one of the frameworks that I'm working with right now is like not owing anybody anything. Yeah, and like a big pattern and loop for me is that I owe people things, whether it's like I owe you a response to your email, I owe you this like document I've been saying I'm working on, and I am working on it, right? And like a sense of urgency around when and how much I owe people. And this even comes up in this really silly way of like, I will see someone at the grocery store and be like, oh my God, it's so nice to see you. We should get together soon. And I realize that I want to stop saying that second piece because then it's like this debt that I put out there of like, oh, well, we should make that happen. And so a way I've been like triggering this in my own head is like, you don't have to say two things when you can say one. I can just bump into someone and say like, it's so nice to see you. End of sentence. It's like, I don't think I'm reclaiming this. I literally think I'm just learning this now. And I'm about to send out two proposals today, two different proposals to like 6 different people. And I can see my narrative of like setting self-imposed deadlines for things or feeling like I'm behind the ball. But I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just offering this to you as it is. This is an offer. We don't owe each other anything. This is an offer. You are free. I am free. We can decide what to do. So I don't think I'm reclaiming that. I think I'm literally just figuring this shit out.
It's so interesting though, because, well, to keep going back to these like littler versions of ourselves, like, did we learn, is that a learned behavior though? It's like, can you go back and like reclaim the Cath who didn't ever feel like she owed somebody? And where was that? Like, where did that shift happen? I mean, that's a really curious introspective moment to say, how long have you been carrying the narrative of owing someone something? But it's also stepping into worth and value. And I think that's where the 40 portal gives us such grace and space to say, like, we are of this age now. We're in this like beautiful decade of our life that is full of so much potential, full of abundance, but we're also in this decade having like created foundation and stability for ourselves in certain areas, right? And so it's like in the 40s, in this decade, in this beautiful clean slate that we're talking about, it's like, what is your worth and how do you define that? And is it time? Is it energy? Is it attention? Is it quality of being with somebody? And I've thought about this a lot. It kind of loops into this owing that I'm really good at quality time. Like if I have you in a room and we're together, like I'm really good at that. But I might not respond to your text message for like 6 weeks. So I'm not good at that like immediate response, but it's because I want to like give a quality response. And so then it's like my gift, my worth for people is quality time, being really present and in the moment when I'm in it. So then silence in between those has no reflection upon you. It's more upon me. And that's something that I used to shy away from, being like, I got to respond. I got to show up in different ways. And now I'm just like, no, I will get to you. And I promise it will be really good when I do.
Yes. Oh my God. We could do a whole episode around this. Like, someone described too of like catching a message on the fly or something where you're like looking at your phone. You're not trying to respond to your messages. You see something come in. And for me, that's often when things like fall through the cracks, or do they, right? It's probably just not the right time. But I think another thing that you're getting to, because I was thinking about this as I was, and you're so good at quality time. Like I can literally picture like some of our conversations we've had on the phone over the years, and like where I was like sitting on the floor of like what was my office that became where I gave birth to Georgie. That was Georgie's nursery. Like I can remember driving to see my sister and her baby in Vermont, and like be that one long phone call that was like two years ago, right around this time. And so I can attest you are really good at quality time. But one of the things that keeps coming up on the podcast is like female friendship. And I'm like, what is this for us? Because I have some friends who I talk to most days, and like my mom and my sisters and I text most days. But a lot of my friendships, a lot of my primary sustaining, most important, valuable people in my life, like you, I don't talk to for long stretches at a time. And I'm like, what is that even called? How do we characterize that kind of relationship? It certainly has a value unto itself, but I don't know. What do you think about that, Tori?
I love that. Gosh, it's so interesting because, yeah, it's quality over quantity, but it also goes back to, I think, foundation, and two other words that are coming in is like alignment and attunement. Like you and I have, well, we've traversed many life moments together, from like meeting, well, you met Sam, I had already known John, but like realizing that we're gonna like marry these like bearded men who wear flannel shirts. It was like, okay, so this is happening. And then it was like, we both navigated our marriages in such beautiful, unique, very true to us ways. And it's like, then we did, you know, all of the births of the babies, and they weren't perfectly timed, but I felt like we were kind of, I was pregnant, then you were pregnant, and we kind of like held that space together. And so I see it as this through thread, this like aligned energy through thread. Not saying that every long term or long distance relationship needs to have that core connection, but I think a lot of what we have that is so resonance is that alignment of energy and life patterning that has mirrored and shifted and supported each other throughout the years. And I would even bring that into last year when I was writing the book. You were like an anchor for me in that process of just moving through ideation and bringing like motivation where I felt like, oh, I can't do this. And those quality check-ins were really essential. So there's like an alignment there that attunes us and reminds us of like who we really are. And I think that is the core aspect of these bigger friendships of I see you and I can also mirror back to you who you are because I just love you so dearly. And I've also like seen you evolve in this really beautiful way.
For a long ass time. Oh my gosh. Okay, two things come to me from this. And one is I think I'm like a year behind you in the book because I think I'm gonna put 40 Early Mornings out this summer. And it's just funny, there we are again. And I also have this distinct memory because Josie's 10 now, right?
She just turned 10
She
in
just turned
February.
10, yeah.
Mhm.
And I remember you telling me you were pregnant. I think I okay, if I'm getting this wrong, I'm getting this wrong, but I remember being at the lake on like the cordless phone there because the
Yeah.
like cell
Cell
phones don't
phone didn't
work.
work.
And you were like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, we are so young. But you were like 30. Like,
I was like, yeah, 30, which is, I mean, to this point though, like bringing it back, like I always like was ready to be an adult. I don't know. It's not like I got pregnant that much earlier than you did. You were pregnant
no.
like
But I was like,
in
I'm a young mom because I was 31 still when Lou was born.
And then you think about our parents' generation and still people today having kids in their young 20s. For me, it's like everything was so serendipitous in those years. And I do chalk it up to yoga and meditation and just being in the flow, being in the receptivity of letting life arrive and also take action. Like I had to decide to leave DC and move to Seattle. Like I had to make these big decisions and also opening to what was coming in. Josie's such a beautiful example of that. She just came and we were so ready for her and not. And sure, 30 seemed young. It's also like she turned 10 and this mama aspect of me had a really reflective moment realizing that I had a 10-year-old. 10-year-old is like a different it's like a different space in the mothering journey. And Josie's incredible and amazing and like truly she's like one of my best friends and we have like the most amazing conversations and she's like an angel in a human body. um so I love her dearly, but when 10 happened I was like, "Oh, you're like your own person now. You're not dependent upon me for survival in the way that you have been for the past decade." That's big too.
Wild. I've gotten to none of my questions, which is totally tracks for us. Like it's so much better just to freeform. But like one of them is how would you introduce yourself if job titles, accomplishments, labels, resumes weren't part of your answer?
Oh gosh, that's so good. Um, I'm a space holder. I hold really good space for people. And that's important to me too, like thinking about how I like to connect. Like I want space to be held for me too. But a space holder, a householder. Um, I would also say that there's just this like curiosity that runs through me, and it makes sense that I would have a degree in art because I've always been curious about the creation process. I wrote the book, I've created my own business, but there's just like this thread of curiosity that just is a part of me. So a curious space holder.
A curious space holder. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. If you want now, you can pepper in some of like your titles or your vocational roles or however you think about it, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So I run This Gentle Way, my online business that really established itself in the 2020 era. I work with people through astrology and meditation and dialogue. I still like to teach yoga occasionally, gather people together in sacred circle. And I'm an author and a creative, and I'm constantly writing. I have another book on the way. Um, so when I say there's a blank slate, like there are these back burner projects that I have going on. But my titles would be guide and author and intuitive.
Which one
Mhm.
feels like the most, or do they all feel across the board like the most resonant for you right now?
I would say it's a really good triad of energy. Because I write on a daily basis, I'm still very connected to the author title. I adore my work in the world. I love talking to people and holding space for people. So that guide energy is really potent and present as well. And then the intuition weaves through all of it. It weaves through how I mother, it weaves through how I tend to myself, it weaves through my writing and my work. So I would say they hold a very triangulated reality in my world. And I've been lucky to be able to create and craft a life where those all do hold
Mhm.
presence. Yeah.
It's been so beautiful to see. I just love like sitting and like reflecting on that with you because we really did it from scratch from the
We
first.
did. I mean, I love that question of like, we started our businesses before online business was a really popular thing. And I had not thought about that. Um,
And we were and if, does this track for you? Because even now when I mentor teachers and things like that, like I'm always splitting up the like vocation of the work and then like the business you build around it. And not that they're not happening at the same time, but to me, I feel like I need to understand, am I focusing on like the vocation, the calling, the like getting richer in the craft of what I do versus like trying to figure out like my next whatever like program or offering. And I feel like we had a really awesome place to play. Like the business piece was taken care of um uh, itself at Flow for us. So we just had a lot of space to like continue to learn, to get better at the actual act of opening our voices and creating the space and holding the space and having people lift their arms or sit and breathe.
yeah. Ooh, I love that. Yeah, it's so curious that you say that because when I was writing The Weaver and the Welder and like constantly returning to like what is my why? Like why am I doing this? And like what is the motivation? Because when you're in the depths of writing a book, you have to stay connected to that or you will lose momentum. Um and the why is still the same. Like why did I write the book? I wanted to inspire people and I wanted to inform people of this wisdom that I've gained along the way. And that is a central focus of why I do what I do, not just writing books, but also holding space and having clients. And, it's also how I want to parent. I want to inspire my children. I want to give them the information they need to be successful in the world and also like hold space for that curiosity to come back. And so, I think that to just weave this all together, if at the core of every day is that why, that inspiration, or as you use like more of the vocation, the craft, then it will feel as though you're really aligning with your purpose and what you're here to do. If we focus just on numbers, just on, what the spreadsheets say, then we'll lose the why, or at least for me, that's what it feels like. And if my why can be at my heart of every moment of every day, then that's a life well lived.
Yeah, that's success. That's success. Yeah. I feel like your next book is going to be called Inform and Inspire, but maybe not. I feel like the welder and the weaver inform and inspire, like these two little dyads you got going. I don't know.
Yeah, God.
Um,
Oh, and I mean, gosh, yeah, like just getting into that space of really crystallizing the why is so important. And inform and inspire is really at the heart of it, I think. I think you do that though too, just to like throw it back in your court. I mean, you're here to bring curious conversations, to hold space, and maybe this is part of our through thread as well.
Totally. I think we have so much more ahead of us, Tori. I feel like we're just
Hmm.
getting started. Okay,
Yes,
what is
clean
one
slate.
clean slate, baby? What is one thing that your 10 years ago self would be really surprised to learn about you today?
Ooh, 10 years ago, self. So I was having a baby, just had a baby. Oh, that's interesting because it's curious that you ask Josie's. I write about this in the book. Josie's birth was, her pregnancy was beautiful. Her birth for her was great. Her birth for me was really difficult. I had some very scary things happen post labor and delivery. We stayed in the hospital for over a week. And so, literally, this version of self 10 years ago would have just been how are we going to like climb up and out of this postpartum energy? Like, there was like very, very deep healing that had to happen. And so I think my 10 years ago self would be really proud of my current self. And I also think my current self can reflect back into that 10 years ago self and be like, it's all going to be okay. Like, because there was like such I don't want to say darkness. It was just like a really physical, like there's a lot of physical healing that had to go on. And now we're at a place where my body feels well and strong and vibrant. And we've built this life. It's also interesting that you asked that because it wouldn't be exactly 10 years ago, but we learned this practice together. I don't know if you ever use it, but the 1 year, 5 year, 10 year reflections. Do you remember
No.
learning that with Deborah? like a long time ago.
Who I talked to on the phone like 2 weeks ago, and it was like the best combo ever.
Yeah,
She's
I just
so
adore
good.
her.
Okay,
So
what did
she
Deb
led us
tell
through
us?
like 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year, and you do it as like a future projection, but you write them as if it is happening in real time. So it's like you write it as a journal entry 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I made John do that when we first got together.
Yeah, you did.
Um, but what is so interesting, and so it's not exactly my 30-year self, so that would be my 28-year-old self, but we both wrote down independently of each other. Like, I want to be walking through like the field in the sunrise, like with my cup of coffee and like my dog running alongside of me, like taking it really slow and beautifully. And he had a barn in his, and I was just talking about like, the kids being, and again, we weren't pregnant. We didn't even have a dog. Like, we had just decided to do life together. And 10 years fast forward, that's literally how we spend our mornings. We're like walking through the field with a cup of coffee, with the dogs running. And I think that there's something really powerful to connect of in the quantum world and quantum theory. There's a lot of research coming out that your present self is actually impacting your past self and that time is not linear the way that we know it to be. It's a conversation to dive into at another time. But I think about that continuity of what you plant and put into the world. And then once you receive that, being able to reflect back and be appreciative of it.
I feel like I just want to pause and plug your book for a second because like you're just you're like, yes, tell me more. It's funny. It's like, yes, your birth story is in there and then other stories around other pregnancies you've had and like I mean, it is just, but you're also like in, what was it, Laos as like a 20-year-old, I mean, and this kind of quantum movement through time and space and like a deep knowing and something you said about your 10 years ago self of like, it's all going to be okay. Like your book is so trippy and I offer that in the most generous way of like, it reminds me of like Stephen Levine's A Gradual Awakening. It reminds me of like a Ram Dass, like Be Here Now, like 1970s kind of like spiritual, like secondary texts. And yet, like, it can be as simple as, like, I actually think through every arc of that book, it's like, it's all gonna be okay. It's like something that I felt so deeply reading
Mhm.
it.
Mm. There's even a chapter, so entitled "Everything Will Be Okay," and in that chapter, it loops to a couple of different things. So I had Josie and Reevesy, and they were both beautiful pregnancy, but I've also had pregnancy loss as well. And so the Everything Will Be Okay chapter is that pregnancy loss and what that put me through, and just the massive amounts of realization that come when you're face to face, like one day being so excited of potentially welcoming a new child into the world, and then like the next day realizing that that's not the narrative or the timeline that you're on, and holding the through thread of like everything will be okay. And it's powerful, I think, because if we live life, as you said, in those present ways, being in the experience, being deep in the humanness of it, then everything ultimately is okay, because the point of life is to live it, is to be human, is to be in the unfolding of whatever is presenting itself. And I do believe, and to bring like deeper belief systems in, that we are a soul having a human experience, and our soul has had many experiences, and that those moments that feel dark and hard and scary are the places where we excavate and discover and really find the alchemy that is possible, in these human bodies. And so, yeah, going back to my 30-year-old self and being like, everything will be okay, is very on brand for me, because it is a part of my personal mantra.
So
Yeah.
good. Um, all right, last question before we dive into the 40 portal wisdom. If we could talk for the entire day, but we have a hard stop. Is there anything that you were supposed to have done by now? Like, and I say that with like quotes. Or and maybe it's not just you. It's like, was there a story about a woman your age that you heard that, like, how does that track?
It's a funny way to answer this, but I remember when my dad turned 40 and someone gifted him a cane, because, like, I don't know, that's what you used to do. You had like these like over the hill, like
Over
you're
the hill.
old. You
Yeah.
know? So I don't feel like there's something I should have accomplished, because I feel very accomplished. Like I can stand in my voice to say, like, I'm very proud of what I've done. I've published a book when I was turning 40. I have two beautiful children, a beautiful home, an amazing husband. Like, I feel very accomplished. I've had a career in art, a career in yoga. Like, these things have always just been like, oh, I'm going to do that. And I did that. So I do feel very accomplished. I don't feel as though there's anything lacking. I think what is interesting is that I don't feel old. Like, growing up, I thought I would feel like old when I turned 40. And yes, I feel older and established in a certain sense of maturity and like comfort in self, but I don't feel old, which is nice. I just feel like there's so much more that I can look forward to, but I don't know what it is. And I'm not very concerned, because I'm in my no urgency era.
I love it. It's so good.
But no, I feel very happy and proud of myself. And that's something I've worked on too, is being able to say that. Because we're not really taught how to say that.
I feel like women, myself included, just listening to you say it like that it's going to do so much. So thank you for that. Okay, I'm gonna dive into our 40 portal wisdom, but I guess I want to say one more thing, which is like, I feel like we have a similar alignment, or like we're on our own parallels of like really being able to see our life before it happens and like imagine our way, or like in however you would describe it. But I feel like that is such a strong driving force in your life. It's a strong driving force in my life too. I'll have to find that like journal entry from, what did we call it? Tribe Day 2015 or something. We probably wrote like a whole thing that's already happened. I'll have to find that, but
So funny.
so
Mm.
good.
Wasn't
Okay.
that like May 1st?
I think it probably was. May 1st is a big day for like you, for me, for us. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
That's tomorrow.
We tried to do this on May 1st, but it was supposed to be April 30th, which I also read is like a big transit for me. I don't know. You know all the information. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. This is from my friend Laura. She's turning 50 this year, and she wrote it in 2025 Virgo season. She's a Virgo. Um, Catherine Women 40 Portal. Trust its wisdom. This phrase popped out at me from your prompt for the weight and wisdom of its being. Entering and living the fourth decade essentially spoke this phrase to me whenever I was quiet enough to hear it. And if I wasn't quiet, my 40 or over self did her work, fighting, flying, fearing, forgiving to hear it. 40 is sinking into the trust you've earned from your life thus far and beautifully, artfully, wildly knowing the answers you refine for the next chapter are within. The medium for life's answers are the learned experiences of love and laughter you've already taught yourself. Pick them, place them, pucker up and kiss them as you rock on. Remember your style and flair. Bring them in when you need a little spark inspiration, as quiet listening may require, I can't read this word, something else than your special brand sometimes. More soon, Laura.
Mm. Mm. So two things stick out, this notion of trust and also this like it feels like there's like an invitation for like a zest for life. Like she's like pucker and brand and like that feels really aligned with where I desire to be in another 10 years of like trusting so definitively in who I am that life just becomes a like playground and feast and like beautiful space of really diving into the humanness of it all while maintaining that like spiritual curiosity, creative curiosity that has always brought me into new things and new ways of living and new ways of learning. But trusting in self like so definitively that you like have a zest for life always feels so powerful.
It's like the trusting so much that it can also be a playground. Like that's really
Yeah.
powerful too. I feel like
Mhm.
I feel like maybe this is an invitation, and I'll text Deb too, like to do a 1, 5, and 10-year journal
Yeah.
entry.
I mean, it is so powerful. And I use that technique with clients a lot. And the key point is that you write it in present tense. So you're not locking yourself into hope or if only or maybe this is possible. You write it in present tense as in like this timeline exists and I'm aligning myself to that timeline because that's the timeline that I want to live.
Can you give us a line from, I don't know, something you see on that 1, 5, or 10-year arc?
So 50.
Give us 50.
uh Barefoot walking in the field drinking coffee, but with lavender and honeybees and wildflowers and a book tour and continued impact for myself, like impacting my inner circle and also having the greater global impact.
There you go. It's
There
been
you go.
written.
There it is.
Been written. Good.
You're like
Oh my-
definitely barefoot.
Always barefoot, baby. Always barefoot.
We put shoes on.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Tori. Thank you.
This has been beautiful. Thank you.
I always leave my conversations with Tori feeling more grounded. And that is especially so when I'm in a moment of feeling pretty groundless. So I hope that something here also gave you more solidity, more grace, more space, more footing, because it certainly did for me. Okay, thank you for listening. Don't forget to contribute your voice to the portal, 40portal.com/contribute, and then leave a written review and email it to me at 40portalpodcast.com. And you could be my next guest. We could do this together. We could sit together and have this convo. I can't wait to hear from you. I'll pick the winner. That sounds weird, but I'll let you know by June 8th or 9th. The deadline for this is June 7th, 2026. And what else do I want to say? Oh, there's a funny outtake. We did a little hot mic B-roll, so stay tuned because I'm going to play that now. Here it is, folks.
There's the bag.
I mean, I can't believe you remembered this fucking gigantic thing.
And I do. I love it because it's like my first visual of you was that transformation. You would like come in from work, and I don't think I even knew you were an attorney at the time. So I was like, this lady is like doing something important. And then you'd like put on your spandex and your like tank top and be like, and now I really want to be.
Yeah, now I begin. That's so funny. And I keep it out as like this reminder, like this, I don't use it. It's just hangs in my office / whatever.
Yeah.
Because it is, we contain multitudes.
It's an artifact.
So
and I think that even that notion of artifact is so important in this conversation of like reclamation and iterations of self and even future self, past self, like 30-year-old self, 50-year-old self, 40-year-old self. Like, what are the artifacts that are going to represent the phases of your life and like holding those with like value and cherishing them? So.
Oh my God, that's so good. We got to do a part 2 of this. Artifacts. That's it. That's totally it. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, listen, you go into your day. I'm literally writing down artifacts. Let's schedule like a hang. Let's schedule a hang.
That sounds perfect.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Are you doing Instagram posting tomorrow? Because I'll repost them for your book.
Sure.
Okay.
Send it my way.
Okay.
My 2,000 followers.
You got like 400 more than I do. I literally have not picked up any. I've picked up like 200 real people followers.
I do feel like, I know we're kind of, are we still recording? Whatever. You have this as content, but it's like, I like don't know how people get like, I don't know how, and maybe that's because I'm a millennial, and maybe that's because I just don't care. But like, I still 10 plus 15 years later, however long Instagram, I don't know how it works. And I just think I won't. I just think that I won't. No.
You're plugged into more important systems cosmically.
I am figuring out consciousness instead of Instagram.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Oh my God. Oh, so good. So good.
You.
All right. I love you too. I'll see you soon. We'll make it happen. Mwah.
Bye.